So the sun is out, and today is going to be a really interesting day because we are going to test out a product and see if it can do what I'm hoping it can do. And this is going to be huge for RVers looking to stay a little cooler in their RV on these super, super hot summer days. So I think you're going to enjoy this video. Hang tight. I'll be right back. Okay, so I promised you guys when I got this IcyBreeze portable air conditioner that I would test it in an RV environment because, let's face it, a lot of people that watch my channel own RVs or looking at getting into RVs, or they may be in a scenario where the RV that they have just doesn't have the capability of cooling down the whole RV. And that can be a serious problem for folks who want to go out camping and enjoy the camping lifestyle. Maybe you purchased an RV and it only has one AC unit on it. You took the family out and you found out that that one AC just is not enough to cool down your RV adequately. Well, I think most of you know that we have an RV and it's not a small RV. And this isn't going to be a fair test to try to cool down an entire fifth wheel with this, but I think we can definitely demonstrate how this is capable of working in part of our fifth wheel. And let me show you what's going to happen here. So first of all, let me talk about what you're looking at if this is the first IcyBreeze video you've seen that I've made. This is not a sponsored video. I paid full price for this product, which is kind of a bummer because they had like a big sale a week after I bought it. That said, it was like 500 bucks. The battery pack itself was the leading contributor to the cost because it costs like $100 extra for that. Plus, we got the higher end IcyBreeze, and I think it's called like the Platinum or something like that, the premium. But this specific one has an extra feature on it called Extreme Cool, which basically pumps water through the heat exchanger quicker, which keeps the coil cooler. So whenever air is being drawn through it, the air is being exposed to a colder coil more consistently. So it drains the battery a little bit quicker, and it also goes through your ice a little quicker. The way this works, essentially, is you have this heat exchanger right here. It's a coil, just like you would see on a residential air conditioner. The water gets pumped into the coil, goes through the channels, gets those fins in the coil really, really cold, and then you see this hole right here, this opening. You also have another one on the back, and that allows air to be drawn in right here, kind of like a return air on an air conditioner. It goes through the cooler and gets sucked out here and blown on you either through the vent here, through this piece here, or through a splitter if you want to add a splitter to it. So it acts like a real air conditioner, not a swamp cooler. We did a humidity check on this thing and it actually pumped out 60% humidity air, which is pretty dang comfortable air. I think it got down to like 55% humidity, but the air temperature coming out of here was like 60 degrees, and the air temperature coming through here was at like 40 degrees. So it's a true-to-life air conditioner. A lot of people say if you don't have a compressor, if you don't have real coolant, it's not a real air conditioner. That's totally not true. Even some of your large buildings utilize a water-cooled cooling system, a chiller versus coolant. But super cool. I have two 1-gallon jugs here that are completely frozen. I'm going to fill this up with water about to here, and we're going to get the water nice and cold inside of here. We're going to move it to the RV, and I'm going to show you what we're going to be testing today. What you really want to do is you want to get water past where the hoses are and where the inlet is for the pump that's going to feed it into the heat exchanger. Otherwise, you'll run the pump dry, which is not good. You can damage the unit if you do that. Okay, I think we have enough water in there. Water should cool down pretty quick. I'll lay these on their side so you get more contact area with the water. And I could go ahead and turn the thing on if I wanted. 6-hour battery life if you get the optional 12-volt, 10-amp-hour battery. Turn it on here, change it to high. And it blows a good volume of air. I mean, it really does. You can feel it. You know, the first test I did, it was like 2 feet away, but right now I can feel it probably close to 5 feet away. It's not as windy as it was when I tested it the first time, though. Nice and cold air coming out of it as well. Okay, then you got the little port right here, which you can also use. All right, let's go ahead and shut it off. Let's move it to the RV so I can show you what we're going to be doing today. There's a nice little plastic pull handle, plastic wheels. Do kind of wish they would have went with a more premium handle and premium wheels. I'm not sure how long that handle will last, only time will tell. Okay, so in front of you, you were looking at two ThermoPro temperature and humidity gauges that I have. I just brought them in from the house. They are reacclimating to the RV right now. The RV that I keep out on the property has one air conditioner that I keep running most of the time. And this air conditioner back here, we have 3 AC units on here, but this specific one, I usually keep set at 84 degrees on the thermostat, and it keeps the inside of the RV nice and cool. It does a really, really good job. Actually, when I come out here most of the time, it's usually like 83 degrees in here, and it's comfortable. Today is an interesting day because the humidity is actually a little lower than it typically is due to that tropical storm that rolled through. Also, the outside temperature is pretty dang comfortable. It's almost like we have a cold front. It's actually saying outside right now the feel-like temperature is 85 degrees. So, yeah, the temperature today is not that bad. Usually it would be in the hundreds at this point. It says feel-like temperature is 92 degrees. So 85 degrees and sunny, 92 degrees is the feel-like temperature. I turned off the ACs in here about an hour ago. And you can see the inside temperature of the RV at this point is about 83 degrees. You can see the humidity on both of them is pretty much matched. And the temperature is pretty dang close as well. It's off by 0.4 degrees, but it'll probably adjust over time here. That said, though, what I really want to see, and boy, it's rare seeing 50% humidity down here. But that's what happens when you have a tropical storm that pulls out all that humidity and brings in dry air. But what's going to be really interesting to see is if the IcyBreeze makes a dramatic difference in terms of the conditioned air inside of our mid-bunk. So this is our mid-bunk, aka daughter's room. So they've put 2 furnace ducts in here. That's a furnace duct and that's a furnace duct. Behind me up here is your air conditioning duct. And this is the only AC duct that comes into this room. And let me show you how that actually works. So we have a loft that's above the mid-bunk. And let me move all this out of the way. And you can see that channel right there. So the second AC unit is right over here. It's all ducted together, so it's all going through the same ducting. But in order to get air down here, it has to drop down that chute into this room through here. And the air volume that goes in this room just isn't that impressive, and it doesn't cool this room down very well. So this is a challenge that most folks with mid-bunks, rear bunks face when they don't have an AC unit in that room and they have a loft above it. How do you get the air-conditioned air through the loft down to that space underneath it? And most people with mid-bunks probably have that same issue. We're going to see if the IcyBreeze is an alternative to adding another air conditioner. If this thing lasts as long as they claim, 6 hours on one charge, or you can plug it into the wall, and if you plug it into the wall, well, it can technically just run non-stop, as long as you can feed it a good supply of cold water. And right now, we have 2 big blocks. The water in there is very cold. And yeah, once we turn this thing on, we're going to check the temperature in this room versus the rest of the RV. So I am going to take one of these, really doesn't matter which one. I'll take the one that's reporting the higher temperature slightly. And we'll leave one out here, and we're going to see just how effective the IcyBreeze is possibly in cooling a room inside of an RV. So there is going to be air loss in here, mainly because there's about a 2-inch gap underneath the door, but for all practical purposes, I think most people would understand that this test can confirm if this can keep a room a little cooler than what it would normally be if you didn't have an AC unit in it. So I'm going to take this. I'm simply going to push it up there, check the charge on the battery. It's showing the battery's full. We're going to power it on, put it on high, put it on extreme. Yeah, you can really feel the air. Yeah, you can actually feel the air. You can feel the air circulating around this room, which is pretty awesome. So let's see how it's performing so far. So the air coming out of it is, let's see here, 75. Feels colder than that, but the tube itself is going to have to kind of acclimate. Let me stick it like this and put it down the tube. "68 degrees. And it will get colder as the ice gets the water colder. 68 degrees. Okay, so I've shut it off. I cut both of the 1-gallon containers out, and now you just have 2 big blocks of ice in here, which should get the water temperature quite a bit colder than it was. Let's see where we're at. So the ice itself is 32 degrees, 31 degrees. The water, 46. Yeah, temperature's dropping pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and get this test running again. All right. We have it on extreme cool again. Oh yeah, air's a lot colder coming out of there. 67, get it right to 65. Dropping, look at that. 63, 62, 61, 60. Yep, it's definitely a lot colder than it was. Getting that ice directly in contact with the water in there, a huge difference. Look at that, we're dropping to 57. Well, that just made all the difference in the world. It's like 46 degrees. It's as cold as we're gonna get. Oh, check this out. Temperature in the room, 80 degrees. Humidity, 64% humidity. Humidity is a little higher than I'd prefer, but it's still far, far lower than if this were a swamp cooler. Look at that temperature. And this has been sitting up here. That is really nice. And again, it's blowing a lot of air volume. I can easily feel the air all the way up to the ceiling. What I want to see is if we can get the temperature dropping from 80 degrees. Let's go check the other temperature meter I have in the other room. Okay, so we're back in the living room. 48% humidity, so again, it is very dry. 83.3 degrees, so we're 3 degrees cooler than we are in the living room. Imagine if you had the assistance of the air conditioning also running. I mean, that's really where this thing's going to shine. It's basically adding another AC vent. You can hear it. If you like a fan noise, that's definitely what you're going to get from it. But now this is going to be interesting. This is something that I can't really prove, but I can walk in here and I can give you my impression of if that room feels cooler than this room. Yes, it does. Without a doubt, it feels cooler. And I'd probably say it feels about 3 degrees cooler. The humidity hasn't spiked crazy high over what's comfortable. But 65% is kind of borderline. It's getting a little higher than what some might hope for. But here's something to kind of compare it against. Here in South Texas, with the humidity that we have normally, most homes are generally about 65 to 66 to 67% humidity. So this isn't terribly bad. So I had it in my hand, so the temperature went up just a hair. Again, let's see what the air coming out of here is. 65 degrees. And dropping. So from a mid-bunk perspective, if you had kids that were sleeping in this area and you put this vent on them, it would keep them nice and cool, no doubt. You wouldn't have any issue at all. As far as cooling the room down, the temperature still is at 81, but I do feel like it's going to drop. My gut tells me that temperature is going to come down a little bit as I run this thing a little longer. You pop the little kickstand out on the back. That might actually help so it's not touching that countertop. It's blown some really nice air. And again, every video I've made on this, nothing's been sponsored. They've never reached out to me. We bought this thing off of their website, and quite frankly, I'm more impressed than I thought I'd be. I thought I'd actually be a little disappointed with it. either from the airflow perspective or how cold it is or how well that small little heat exchanger actually works. And it's actually pretty impressive to see that it works well. The only thing I'm not super impressed by, and I've mentioned this in every single video, I feel as if the cooler itself feels a little cheap. But again, I have to always kind of remember that if you're talking about a portable air conditioner, not a swamp cooler, this is actually like a bargain. This is a really good price. If you're talking about a homemade swamp cooler, you can build one for probably 50, 60 bucks if you get the cheapest fan they have at Walmart, and you get the cheapest Igloo cooler, and you cut a hole in it, and you get a little piece of PVC. You can build things like that pretty inexpensively. But that's not an air conditioner. I guess it conditions the air, but it's not going to blow out dry, cool air. It'll blow out cool air that's wet, and it's going to go through ice really, really quick. This right here is an actual genuine air conditioner. That's the best way of saying it. And the air is relatively dry. I mean, right now, 62% relative humidity. It's holding at 81 degrees at this point, so it's definitely cooler in this room than the main part of the RV. And this is a really good alternative for folks who may have a space where they have kids sleeping and they don't have an air conditioning ducting in there that's effective, or they don't have a second AC in their unit, which can really keep that space cool. Or maybe even in the master bedroom, you want cool air blowing on you throughout the night, and you don't want to have to use the air conditioner. Or maybe that's the type of environment you're dry camping, and you just don't have the ability to run your air conditioner when you're dry camping. Having this, or even a couple of these throughout your RV, can help tremendously in terms of getting cool air on you and conditioning a space. Now, the air is really, really nice and cold coming out of here. The room itself still says it's at 81.3 degrees, even though it feels cooler than that. It's weird how just a few degrees can feel, cooler or warmer depending on where you're moving. Humidity is back down to 60%. But it's doing a reasonable job. Now, if it was super, super, super hot in here, I'm sure it would still do a reasonably effective job in this relatively small space. But that's also where you have to understand the limits of this. Is it better to simply sit on the couch and have this vent blowing on you like this to get the cold air directly on you? Because I could do that. And now I have like a lot of really nice cold air blowing on me. And I don't really care if the rest of the room is cooled down because I'm getting the cool air directly on me. It's kind of like the people that stand directly underneath the air conditioning vent because they want all the cold air. That's exactly what I'm doing here. And not only can I feel my sweat drying off at this moment, but it also feels really comfortable. So that's something else to think about. So we are still at 81.3 degrees, same 60% humidity. I'm pretty impressed. I gotta admit, I'm more impressed than I thought I'd be overall with this product, and I definitely have to say it's a recommended product. Very, very cool. Not sponsored at all, so they're not paying me a penny. They don't even know I'm making these videos. They probably have seen the last couple of videos I've made, but yeah, it's nice to see a product work the way that it's advertised. It's a pretty good price for what it does. You may look at the form factor and say they could have made it look a little fancier. They may have been able to use a better, higher looking cooler. But the way this is designed, the way it's designed to work, it does exactly what they claim it does. It does exactly that. The only piece that I'm pretty sure is not going to live up to their hype is the return air. Because you don't have a seal around the cooler, there's no way that this cooler can hold ice as long as like a Yeti or a higher end cooler that's specifically designed to hold ice for days and days. Not that you really need that, but again, just keep in mind that that is a direct airflow into the cooler. This is as well. I'm pretty sure if bugs and things like that wanted to get into this cooler, that would get them just clear access to the inside of this cooler. So just keep that in mind. If you're in an extremely windy, dusty environment, this is also an area where dust and debris can get inside of your cooler, because it's really the only way you can design something like this. You need to be able to get air in. Even if you build those little cheap swamp coolers with a fan, you're sucking air into your cooler so you can blow it out. And that's how they get the air into the cooler here. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. Still at 81.3 degrees. That hasn't changed at all. Basically a 2 to 3 degree difference versus the rest of the RV, which isn't bad. And if you're running your AC and you have a duct going into a room like this, that can really help. Or if you have no AC at all because you just don't have power wherever you're camping, this can get nice cool air directly on you that is still relatively dry. Look, we've dropped to 59% humidity. Anyways, guys, again, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.